This is the GTN show. Welcome. Now, if you're watching this, you probably like a bit of triathlon, but how much? Could you be at risk of becoming addicted to this sport? Well, we're going to be discussing that as well as a lot on the race news after a huge weekend of the Ironman 70.3 World Championships. We've got a new caption competition, and we've got plenty of your photos to be sharing and more. So, could you be at risk of becoming addicted to the sport of triathlon, or to any sport in that matter? There's been a recent study by Dr. Josephine Perry from Performance in Mind, where she took 225 amateur athletes from the age of 19 up to 41. They were athletes that competed in swimming, cycling, running individually, and then triathletes as a whole. And it actually came out that triathletes were the highest or the most likely to become addicted. 46% of those that were actually interviewed said it came out that they could be at risk of becoming addicted to the sport. And I guess it makes sense because you're doing more sports, so you're probably going to be training for more hours. But is it necessarily a bad thing? I mean, sport is healthy if it means it's getting you fit, you're meeting people, you're increasing your network, you're socializing, then there's got to be some good points as well. But this is very much talking about the risk factors. She's not saying these people are addicted, because apparently that would involve a much more thorough interview process with each athlete. So this is just from doing a questionnaire. And there's actually 8 points on this that we can actually look at ourselves to see if we could be at risk of becoming addicted. According to Josephine Perry, if you say yes to any of these, you could be at risk. So point 1, my exercise is incredibly important to me. Guess it depends how you rate incredibly on that one, but yeah, I can see that. Point 2, I've increased the amount of training I do. Well, I guess that depends where you come from. For me personally, I used to do a lot more training because I was full-time. So I guess on that one, I get away with not being at risk. Point 3 though, I use exercise to improve my mood. For sure I do. If I'm in a grump or I've had a long, hard day and I go for a run, I feel so much better. And I reckon a lot of you will be with me on that one. Number 4, I struggle when I can't exercise. Now, I guess that goes hand in hand with 3, because if you're in a bad mood and you can't exercise, then you might stay in that bad mood. I guess I'm probably liable to that one. Number 5 is when it's getting a little bit more obvious, I guess, that you might be addicted. You feel guilty if you can't exercise. For me, that's if I've got a plan that I have to. If I hadn't planned to, then it wouldn't matter so much. Number 6, when I stop exercising for a while, I always go back to it, and often with more intensity. And I understand that, because if you've had time out, then you're probably really keen to get back into it. So is that a bad thing? Who knows? Anyway, number 7, penultimate one, my sport gives my life a focus and I feel aimless without it. I guess it depends on how you identify yourself, and that is, wow, that's a big can of worms, so we might not go into that one right now. But the final point, and this one probably is important, or your friends and family are definitely going to think it is, because competing in my sport has caused conflict with friends, family, or work. Now, hopefully it doesn't get to that, and maybe that point is the most important one that really would show that you're at risk of it. Well, that leads me on nicely to this week's poll. And I want to know if you think you're addicted to triathlon. Is it all you think about? Is it what you look forward to when you wake up in the morning? Is it what you fit into any of your spare time? If it is, then you probably are addicted. So tick yes. And the other option is no. If you can take it or leave it, let us know. Click on the link just up here. And now it's time for last week's results. And Mark and James asked you, if you were to cancel any leg of the triathlon, which would you prefer? And I don't think this is too much of a surprise to me. Now, only 12% of you said you would prefer the bike to be cancelled. Now, I'll put my hand up. I voted for that one. I guess that's because that's the sport I did last, and probably for most of you, it will reflect with the one that comes out top. Next up, it was run with 33%, but a massive win was swimming at 55%. So I think most of you probably don't like the swim quite as much as I do, but interesting stats. Right now, we have an exciting announcement. It is time to reveal the winner of the fan kit jersey giveaway, and it goes to Tomasz Pantoja. Now, Tomasz, if you just keep an eye on your email inbox, we'll be sending you some details, and that jersey will be on its way to you very soon. It's now time for race news, and what an exciting weekend it was. It was the Ironman 70.3 World Championships, and I reckon it's one of the biggest lineups we have seen in years, in both the men's and the women's field. The men's field had double Olympic gold medalist Alistair Brownlee, it had the Olympic silver medalist and multiple world champion Javier Gomez, Jan Frodeno, the Ironman world champion, Olympic champion. I mean, the field was absolutely stacked, and it did not disappoint at all. It set out with a pretty fast and furious swim, but no real breakaways, much to the frustration of Alistair Brownlee, and we actually heard him talk about that here.
You know, I obviously wanted the swim to be really quick, and I don't think it was that quick. You know, with Jan coming through, and we kind of slowed down a bit, and then I wanted to go out hard on that first bit of the bike, and I just didn't quite have great legs, and kind of took my time. It's the first time I've done one of these like more, I guess, competitive races, so getting used to being in the group and, you know, sitting in and not sitting in. By the time you're third or fourth wheel back on those main roads, you're not pedalling, you're just cruising along.
Well, in the group that Alistair was talking about, we had the likes of Javier Gomez, Ben Canute, Braden Curry, Sam Appleton, I think was up there, Peter Hemmerich and Jan Frodeno. So it was a pretty long pace line, but it sounds like only a few of them were doing the work at the front. And Jan Frodeno was very vocal about this here.
I was a little bit angry because Alistair and I, we did all the work all day on the bike and tried to break away, tried to do anything, and nobody came. I mean, Ben Canute came around once, but then, you know, I really wanted to at least hold the flag high in a foot race, which I knew was tough, but I don't know, somehow today I just had my running legs.
It turned into a running race. It was a half marathon to decide who was going to become the 70.3 world champion. And as Jan Frodeno mentioned, he had the legs on the day and he ran away to take the win, his second 70.3 world championship title. And he is looking pretty strong for Kona in a few weeks' time. But then there was a battle behind him for the silver and the bronze. At one point, Javier Gomez looked like he could actually threaten for that title. He was running on the shoulders of Jan Frodeno, but he got a side stitch and faded quite dramatically. So last year's defending champion actually dropped back to third, but it was Alistair Brownlee competing in his first ever 70.3 World Championships who finished strong to take the silver on just a few weeks of training. Javier Gomez, the bronze. The women's field was equally as stacked as the men, and it was going to be an exciting race because we had Daniela Ryf and Lucy Charles competing against each other head-to-head for the first time since that battle we saw in Kona last year. Well, it was Lucy who went out hard in the swim as expected. She came out with a lead of 1 minute 24 on a chasing pack of 7 athletes, including Daniela Ryf, Sarah True, Anne Haug, all in that group. But then onto the bike, it was Daniela Ryf who made the move to chase down Lucy, and we know how strong Daniela can be. By 20k, she'd caught up with Lucy Charles on the bike, but then held her own and stayed there for a few k, and not until 28k she made a move to try and break away from Lucy. She surged up the road and put in a gap of about 30 metres or so, but it never really extended past that, and Lucy Charles very much stayed in touch with Daniela for the rest of the bike, whilst the chasers were losing ground on this duo as they worked together. And they came into T2 with very little separating them. It was Daniela just ahead of Lucy, but it then meant that it came down to a running race. But it was Daniela Ryf who didn't look back once. She opened up that lead and then carried on to increase it over Lucy Charles to take her 4th 70.3 Ironman World Championship title. Lucy Charles had a strong run, but she was being chased down by Anne Haug. Even though she had a 7 minute 40 deficit, it shrunk to just under 2.5 minutes, but she still secured a silver medal, and it was Anne Haug with an impressive run of 1 hour 15 minutes for the fastest run time of the day to take the bronze. Well, there was another significant World Championship race this weekend. It was the Ötillö SwimRun World Champs in Sweden, held for its 13th year. And they had near perfect conditions, which meant for some record times. Actually, records were broken in all 3 categories. And there was one very interesting result as well, which I have to mention. And you've probably noticed that I'm here alone. Mark has left me again, but I'll let him off because he was actually racing in the team Brits Abroad, and he was joined by pro Ironman athlete Harry Wiltshire. Now, the two of them hadn't actually raced together before, but they got a slot for the World Championships, and I think it was pretty tough from what Mark has to say.
Hey GTN viewers, it's myself and Harry Wiltshire out here.
Hi there.
Day after Ötillö, the SwimRun World Championships out in Sweden. So, for those who don't know, we just covered 75 kilometers over 24 islands, 65k of running, 10k of swimming. Needless to say, it was tough. How are your legs today?
my legs are pretty sore. It was a struggle to get out of bed, and the trip to the toilet this morning was an interesting sit down.
Yeah. Well, it didn't quite pan out how we were hoping. I don't know what was up with me. I just had a really, really terrible day from start to finish, considering how far it is to be suffering after 30 minutes into the race. Is not a good place to be. I was just swimming so bad, which is a real shame because we, in theory, could have been right up the front of the race. Harry had the ability to, and I just couldn't. I don't know what was wrong. I was running a little bit better though, so we were holding as good a pace as the front groups on the run, but by that point we were just too far back, so we were kind of working our way back through the field with, well, pretty technical running, wasn't it?
Well, we ended up, I think, 11th overall, and we're about 8 hours and 25 minutes.
Which is actually 45 minutes or so quicker than when I last did it, when I placed 7th, so that just goes to show how much the levels come up. I mean, a lot of the people here are pure swim runners, aren't they?
Yeah, and they've trained a lot together, and I think that's a big part of it. Just, we'd done our first training session in the car park the day beforehand. First time we'd met up to actually see what we could do.
First time you were trying out some of your kit as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it was an experience for us, but we weren't going in with massive expectations. And
well, congratulations to both Mark and Harry. I think they definitely deserve a few days off and a lot of respect for completing that. But I think we should have a quick look at the overall winning results. I'm just going to grab the laptop because there are some long names here. So the men's winners, who went 19 minutes faster than the record which was set last year. So that just shows how quick these conditions were. It went to Team Sport Office, Fredrik Axegard and Alex Flores, a team from Sweden. Now, the women's race had an even more impressive time, 39 minutes quicker than the record the winners actually set themselves 2 years ago in 2016. And this was Team Outdoor Experten, which consisted of Kristen Larsson and Annika Eriksson, also from Sweden. And then the mixed team, who went 33 seconds quicker than the record, that went to the team of Ötillö Crew Wolfwear, and it was Martin Flinter from Sweden and Helena Urbanova-Karaskova from the Czech Republic. It really was a weekend of World Championships because there was a third World Championships, this time in Switzerland. It was the Zofingen Long Distance Duathlon Worlds. And sadly, the 4-time reigning champion, who actually is a resident here, it's the GTN presenter Emma Pooley, wasn't able to make it this year. She's now got other commitments with GTN. So it meant it was wide open on the women's side. And the winner was Petra Ergenschwelle, who took the title with a 20-minute advantage over second place, which went to Melanie Mora, also from Switzerland. And then third place went to Antonia Reznikov. Well, in the men's race, it was quite a bit closer, but the title ended up going to the Frenchman Gael Lebelec. Second place, it was one of his teammates, Yannick Cadelen. And then in third, it was Felix Kohler from Germany. Okay, let's start with some tech. And we've got news from Favera. They have just announced an update for their firmware of their Asioma Power Meter pedals. Now, these pedals came out a year ago, but this update is quite significant. One of the notable factors is making it single-channel Zwift compatible using Bluetooth Smart. So it means they can be used for Zwift, Trainer Road, Sunto watches, quite a few more things. There's quite a lot of updates, but another one that caught my eye on this, one being the power down modes for travel, so you can make sure that you don't run your batteries out when you get to the other end, that you've got power meter pedals that work. And also you can change the auto time that they go into sleep. So if you are, say, doing a sprint triathlon and you want your power meter pedals ready to go as soon as you get on the bike, then you can adjust that time as well. Right, now for some race announcements. And the Escape from Alcatraz have just announced that their 39th race, it's been going for almost 40 years, that's crazy, isn't it? It's going to be on the 9th of June next year in San Francisco Bay. And the registration opens next Wednesday, the 12th of September. So if you are interested, get your name down for that. But there are other ways to qualify as well. They've now got the Escape series throughout the year, and they give a slot to the winner from each age group. It's definitely something that I've got my eye set on. So you never know, maybe next year we'll get a trip to San Francisco. Well, whilst we're announcing future race dates, the European Winter Triathlon Championships have just revealed that they are going to be hosted by Romania in the Transylvania region next year, February the 22nd to the 24th. Now, winter triathlon consists of a 7.5k run, followed by a 13.25k mountain bike, and it's going to be finished up with a 10k cross-country ski. So quite niche, but definitely something I'd quite like to have a go at. A few weeks ago, we were talking about Tokyo 2020 because they have just announced the exact events that are going to be held for triathlon in the able-bodied with the team mixed relay for the first time, but then also at the Paralympics. And one of the events that's going to be held is the PTVI, the Paratriathlon Visually Impaired. Now, this involves a guide competing with the athlete that's visually impaired. It's actually compulsory to have a guide, and Great Britain have seen the importance of this, as I'm sure a lot of other nations have. But they've opened up a campaign called Guides for Gold. So they're looking for strong guides to be able to help their athletes to win the gold medal in Tokyo. And we've actually seen our guest presenter, Mark Buckingham, already having quite a lot of success with Dave Ellis. He helped him guide him to a European gold medal recently. So it's going to be interesting to see how that recruitment goes and how other nations go about finding really strong guides for Tokyo 2020. It's time for the Caption Competition. And last week there was this photo in the rain looking a little miserable, and we had some fun suggestions and I've picked out a few of my favourites. First one here from Sam Kett says, I think I've got this one in the bag. I think that was copying a little bit of Mark's suggestion, to be honest, so no cap for you, I'm afraid. But we've got a couple more runners up. This next one from Dylan Bushby. And to think they want to make these races plastic free. Yeah, good point. And now this one from Thomas Buck. I hope that damn wolf doesn't find me again. But our final one, you do need a little bit of background knowledge on The Blue Planet, a BBC series that went worldwide with the infamous voice that is David Attenborough. Now, I don't think I can do this one justice. Martin Kelly has sent this in. Martin, you are our winner, but let's first hear this read with our very own resident voice.
Here we have the stressed triathlete emerging from an open water swim. The level of plastic pollution in the ocean is endangering the species by suffocating them before the T1 bicycle ritual.
Well, congratulations, Martin. You have won yourself a GTN cap, so do get in touch and we will send that out to you. Now, if you guys want to get your hands on a GTN cap, see what you can come up with for this week's Caption Competition. We have this photo here from the 70.3 World Championship race. The men's day, it was a little bit wet and cold, as you can see from this. And it looks pretty bleak there, but looks like someone is definitely lending a helping hand to a fellow competitor. But do let us know what caption suggestions you have in the comment section below. Right, it's that time in the show where we get to have a look at what you've been up to and some of the photos that you've sent in. Now, to start us off this week, we've got this one sent in from Roch, and it's actually a transition zone Olympic triathlon set up from an event in Brockville, Ontario, Canada. And Roch is riding a 2015 Scott Speedster 20. And he's actually got his friend's bike next to him. So this is a double transition zone. Looks like everything has been thought of in those transitions. Well, now we move on to a beautiful swimming photo. And this one's been sent in by Francesca in Ireland. Race start in Lochria, Galway, Ireland. I'm sure I haven't quite pronounced that right, but I've tried. And that looks quite stunning. Good photography skills there. And looks like there's going to be several waves because there's a few athletes walking down to the start of the next one. Beautiful countryside in the background as well, but I bet it's a bit chilly. Right, our next one here is a running photo. We don't get that many running photos, so do make sure you send those in as well. This has been sent in by Senna from Belgium in Antwerp, and running with teammates during mini swim bike run sets. Well, that's quite hardcore. Doing a triple brick session, I guess. All in their team kit as well. Very smart. Good stuff, guys. Right, our final one this week is a pain cave. This has been sent in by Lorenzo. He says he's banished to the garage, but he's making the most of it. Certainly is. Now, this is impressive. So Lorenzo says, having lost 130 pounds. I can't imagine that. That's kind of almost as much as me, I think. I don't really do pounds, working kilos, but that is a lot of weight. So massive hats off to you there, Lorenzo. And beating a scare with male breast cancer and 2 major surgeries, decided now was the best time to chase my triathlon dreams. No space in the house for the pain cave, so gave up my parking slot in exchange for training space. Well, that is just, yeah, quite incredible. And I like the motto on the wall: pain cave, nobody cares, train harder. And remember, you can send in your own photos if you want to see them featured in this. Do share them with us, whatever it is, anything to do with triathlon. We want to see it. Well, that brings this week's GTN show to a close. But if you want to make sure you get every show and every video on our channel, if you just hit the globe to subscribe, you won't miss another one. And if you like the look of the kit, of this t-shirt I'm wearing, or our cycling kit, or any of the other kit, then you can go to the link to the shop to buy your own, or even enter the Caption Competition, and you never know, you might win a GTN swim cap. We've also got some other videos that we've put out recently that you might want to catch up on. There's one on shoulder mobility just here, and we've just released a video on our top 5 essential running skills to go faster, and you can find that just here.